The morning started with a sound that clawed its way into my dreams, a grating screech of metal against wood, followed by a bone-rattling crack that split the quiet of my suburban street in Willow Creek, Virginia. It was June 12th, 2024, and I jolted awake, heart pounding, thinking a tree had crashed through my roof. Then came the voices, shrill, smug, laughing over the splintering of timber. I stumbled to my window, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and felt my stomach lurch like I was about to crash a car. There, in my front yard, stood a yellow bulldozer, squatting like it owned the place, and beside it was HOA President Laura Hensley, her neon-orange safety vest stretched tight over her frame, shouting orders like a drill sergeant. My Fensimi handcrafted, historically registered, black oak masterpiece was being torn from the earth like it was kindling. Laura spotted me before I could even reach the door. "Oh, good. You're up," she called, her voice dripping with that fake sweetness people use when they're about to wreck your day. "We're finally clearing out this monstrosity." She waved at the wreckage with the flair of someone unveiling a prize. I froze on my porch steps, my bare feet cold against the wood. "Laura, what the hell are you doing?" My voice was steady, but inside, I was a coiled spring. She didn't flinch. "This fence doesn't meet the updated HOA standards," she said, as if that settled everything. "We voted to remove it last week." I tilted my head, feeling the first spark of rage. "Funny, because my property isn't in the HOA." Her smile didn't waver. "Oh, we voted to annex your lot into the association. It's better for community aesthetics." I almost laughed, but it caught in my throat. "You can't just decide that. That's not how property law works." She shrugged, smug as ever. "The board approved it, Daniel. And frankly, that eyesore is a safety hazard. You should be grateful. That eyesore wasn't just a fence. It was black oak, salvaged from an 18th century manor, carved by artisans whose tools are now in museums. I'd spent 2 years restoring Ivory Post, every finial, every inch of its intricate lattice. Appraisers pegged its value at $275,000. It wasn't just wood, it was irreplaceable. I stepped closer, locking eyes with her. "Laura, stop this now, or you'll regret it." Her grin widened, like she thought she'd already won. "I've heard that before." She waved at the bulldozer driver. "Keep going." The machine's arm swung, smashing another section of oak with a crunch that made my chest ache. Laura clapped like she was at a parade. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth hurt, but I didn't yell. Yelling would make me look like the crazy one. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started snapping photos of her face, the bulldozer, the shattered wood, all in frame. She noticed and scoffed. "What, you gonna sue me?" "Sweetie, we've got insurance." "Not enough," I said, my voice low. Then she made her first mistake. She followed me back to my porch, still preaching about neighborhood values and shared responsibility. I switched my phone to video, catching her clear as day saying, "We're tearing it down, whether you like it or not." I didn't argue. Let her think she was in control. People like Laura only learn when the trap snaps shut. By noon, an appraiser from the Virginia Historical Society was in my yard, staring at the rubble like he'd witnessed a crime. "Do you know what this was worth?" he asked, holding a broken finial like it was a sacred artifact. I nodded. I knew. And soon, Laura would too. The next day, while Laura was yelling at a landscaping crew about their hedge trimming technique, a state-issued SUV rolled up to my house. A man in a crisp blazer stepped out, clipboard in hand, the Virginia seal gleaming on his vehicle. "Mr. Carter," he asked, all business. "I'm from the State Historic Preservation Office. We got your call about the destruction of a registered structure." His voice carried, and Laura froze mid-tirade across the street. I led him to the wreckage. He took one look and whistled. "This isn't vandalism. This is destruction of protected property." Laura marched over, her face a mix of bravado and panic. "Excuse me, but that fence violated our community guidelines." The inspector didn't glance her way. "Do you own this property?" She faltered. "Well, no, but the HOA," he cut her off. "Then you have no authority. You've destroyed a structure valued at," he checked his clipboard, $275,000. The landscapers stopped working. Laura's face drained of color, her mouth hanging open like a broken hinge. "That's impossible." I handed the inspector my appraisal documents, black and white proof of the fence's worth. He nodded. This is grand theft and destruction of cultural heritage. I'm forwarding this to the county prosecutor. Mr. Carter, you'll want to file a civil suit. Laura tried to laugh it off. You're bluffing. No fence is worth that. I smiled thinly. That's your problem, Laura. You always think you're the smartest one in the room. Within a week, the HOA was in chaos. The treasurer, Mark, avoided me like I carried the plague. The vice president, Susan, suddenly went on vacation. The neighborhood newsletter vanished from mailboxes. Then came the certified letter from my attorney, 3 pages of legal fury that hit Laura's mailbox like a brick. I knew she got it because her scream echoed across the street. She stormed over, waving the letter. You're suing me for $300,000? Are you out of your mind? Adjusted for restoration and damages, I said, sipping coffee on my porch. You can't get blood from a stone, she spat. Good thing you have a house, I replied. She froze, then tried a new angle. Drop the suit, and I'll get the HOA to pay for a new fence. A nice cedar one from Lowe's. I raised an eyebrow. Cedar? No deal. Her face twisted. My sister's a lawyer. You won't win. I'll see her in court, I said, and walked inside. From there, I let my lawyer handle everything. Laura's voicemails piled up, first fake apologies, then unhinged rants. I saved them all. The Historical Society went nuclear, publishing an article in the local paper about the tragic loss of a cultural treasure, complete with photos of my fence's ruins. The comments section exploded. Neighbors who'd stayed quiet started sharing their own Laura stories, fines for ugly mailboxes, towed cars, petty power trips. The tide had turned. One evening, I saw a realtor's SUV outside Laura's house. She was giving a tour, her voice carrying, I just need to know how fast we can list. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered the sound of my fence splintering. My lawyer called 2 days later. We've got her. No record of an HOA vote to annex your property. No minutes, no notice, no quorum. She acted alone. That meant no HOA liability shield. Laura's personal assets, her house, her savings were on the line. I sat on my porch that night, beer in hand, wondering how long it'd take her to realize she'd lost everything. The moment it hit her came at 8:15 a.m. On a Thursday. She pounded on my door, looking like she hadn't slept in days, her Willow Creek proud sweatshirt faded and frayed. You have to drop this, she blurted. They're talking about taking my house. I sipped my coffee. Actions have consequences, Laura. You know, community standards and all. Her eyes flashed with panic. If I lose my house, I'll have nowhere to go. I smirked. Maybe the HOA can annex someone else's place for you. She stormed off, muttering threats, but her bravado was crumbling. The court date loomed, and the county prosecutor added a criminal charge for destroying protected property. The Historical Society got a local news crew involved. I gave them a tour of the wreckage, complete with photos and Laura's videoed orders. That night, the story aired, her smirking face frozen on screen as the anchor said, a homeowner battles an HOA president gone rogue. Laura tried damage control, a laughable $5,000 settlement offer for a new fence. I sent it back with a note. No. Then my lawyer warned me she was trying to sell her house to dodge the judgment. We filed a motion to freeze her assets, and the judge granted it. The HOA board, finally waking up, voted her out as president. The notice went up on the community board, and I didn't bother hiding my grin as neighbors gawked. 2 days before the hearing, Laura's sister, the lawyer, called to beg for a settlement. I refused. In court, the evidence was brutal. Me video, the appraisals, the property records. Laura's defense claimed she was misinformed, but the judge wasn't buying it, especially after her voicemail. I don't care what the law says. Guilty on the criminal charge, liable for $300,000 in civil damages. Her knees buckled as the number hit. As we left, she muttered, "You're ruining my life." I turned in the doorway. No, Laura. You did that. The auction notice for her house went up 3 days later for bed, 3-bath, proceeds to satisfy my judgment. Neighbors texted me screenshots, some with clapping emojis, others with about time. Laura saw it and peeled out of her driveway, screaming into her phone. The Historical Society called, gleeful. The county's making this auction a spectacle. People are coming to watch her lose. Auction day was a circus. Neighbors brought lawn chairs, Reporters set up cameras, and a taco truck parked nearby. Laura arrived, hands shaking, lighting a cigarette. The auctioneer called her house. 114, Maple Lane, starting at $150,000. Bids climbed fast: 160, 170, 180. At 220, it slowed. Then a woman in a green coat bid 230, and a guy in a baseball cap hit 240. I watched Laura's knuckles whiten. My lawyer leaned in. You could bid. I grinned. Why not? At 250, I raised my hand. The crowd buzzed. Laura's eyes locked on me, realization dawning. At 280, the others dropped out. Sold to bidder 12, the auctioneer shouted. I walked over to Laura. Looks like I'm your new landlord. She hissed, you're vile. Maybe, I said, but I'm thorough. The county gave her 30 days to vacate. She alternated between screaming at me and begging to rent the house. I declined through my lawyer. Neighbors started dropping by with stories of Laura's HOA tyranny, fines for wrong flowers, threats over lawn ornaments. It was like the neighborhood exhaled. On her last night, at 11:17 p.m., I caught her sneaking around her old house with a bucket of black paint, splashing it on the siding. Laura, I called, phone recording. She froze. Just touching up, she stammered. With paint. At midnight. I tapped my phone. Cops are on the way, Officer Daniels. She bolted, leaving the bucket spilled on the driveway. The police filed a report, and I sent the video to my lawyer. 3 days later, the prosecutor called. Laura's stunt was contempt of court and an environmental violation for paint in the storm drain. In court, she looked defeated, no blazer, just a tired woman in a cheap sweater. The judge hit her with restitution, a fine, and 6 months probation with community service. She glared at me, but I just whispered, you could have left quietly. I rented her house to a young couple who planted roses and let their dog romp in the yard. The neighborhood felt alive again. A month later, I saw a flyer on the community board: Laura, coordinating highway cleanup for her service hours. I laughed all the way home. She'd tried to destroy my legacy and ended up picking up trash in an orange vest. I'd played the long game, stayed calm, and let her build her own cage. The last time I saw her, she was on the roadside, grabbing litter. I waved, smiled, and drove on.